Hey, how's it going, guys? Today's topic, I want to discuss pension plans and Social Security and how you could essentially utilize both of those retirement components to produce a worry free retirement. And the ultimate goal for this video is to try to help an individual achieve the retirement that they've envisioned as quickly as possible without financial stress and without deathbed regrets. And the reason why I say that is because if you have a general idea off of when you want to retire, how much it's going to take to retire, you could essentially utilize these two components of lifetime income to close up any gaps and to make that retirement vision a reality and take away a lot of that financial stress, take away those different things that say, I'm terrified of the market. I'm scared that my account's not going to perform well, and therefore I'm going to have to significantly downsize my lifestyle once I hit my retirement. That's not exactly what I envision. That's not what I see as peace and a stress-free essential life when you do get up to that point. So I'm going to explain to you what a pension plan is, what Social Security is, and how you could ultimately merge them with the most optimal solutions to really get you to that destination successfully. So first off, what is a pension plan? And a pension plan is an employer-sponsored retirement plan known as a defined benefit plan. So it's the opposite of a 401k, or when somebody's contributing, an employee is contributing and making contributions into a retirement account that they're trying to grow with the contributions they place in there and the rate of return that's coming back based on the investments. It's the opposite of that. And pension plans were established before 401k accounts. So I always use the example of my grandfather. My grandfather was an elevator mechanic for the city of New York. So by him working for the city, he had to give X amount of years of service. And in order to stay loyal at that, with that employer at that job, what they were doing for him was setting aside a retirement plan so that when he stopped working, he's getting a retirement paycheck every month to the day that him and my grandmother, because he chose the secondary, the joint option, was able to live. So when he passed away, my grandmother was still able to live and reap the benefits of his pension. When she passed away, that income stopped. So basically what it's doing is it's producing a lifetime income stream so that you no longer have to work, and you could use this paycheck so that you could basically go into retirement, know that this paycheck is coming to you every single month like clockwork. It's a defined benefit. With the opposite of defined benefit is a defined contribution. A lot of people try to overcomplicate that. All it is they're defining what your benefit is versus defined contribution. They're defining that you have to contribute into a plan. So some individuals may be offered a pension plan and then also a 401k, or a pension plan and also a 403b, or a thrift savings plan, or a 457 plan based on who their employer is. So they could really reap the benefits of both aspects of saying, okay, I'm going to have a defined benefit, a defined lifetime paycheck when I stopped working based on the X amount of years that I gave of service. And then on top of it, I'm going to have this retirement savings bucket sitting there to really, maximize my retirement and give me some additional flexibility when I do get to that later stage in life. So with pension plans, what we've been noticing are individuals are offered these pension plans, or have been offered for the last 10, 20, 25 years, and now they're nearing retirement. And instead of the company, the employer saying, okay, you can go and execute this income stream that's going to go to you or you and your spouse based on the option that you choose, or we could give you this nice shiny object, this lump sum dollar amount, so that we're going to basically buy out the pension, or you're going to get this lump sum, so you're going to forego your lifetime income stream payment. Which one's a better option? And it really depends on how much the lump sum dollar amount is and whether or not you could utilize those dollars into more flexible areas to still produce lifetime income and have leftover dollars. So I'm going to explain that off of some of the negatives with pensions, on how you can really leverage a pension if you're getting an income stream, or if you're getting this lump sum option, how to make sure that you're taking advantage of it for the flexibility for a successful retirement. So what are some of the problems with pension plans? And I'm going to go through that example with my grandfather and show you how this could have been a big problem for their situation and how to essentially avoid it, and then some other aspects to be mindful of and to try to avoid these common mistakes. So what happens with pension plans is they're giving you income, but typically they're not giving you a death benefit with that income. So if you take a single life option, and there was a big fight that occurred when my grandfather was going to trigger his pension option and he was walking out the door, my grandmother stopped him and said, hey, what's in your hand? And he refilled out the paperwork to choose the single life option because he said, oh, I'm going to live a long, healthy life. And she's just like, are you out of your freaking mind? Like, if you pass away early, I'm completely screwed. Change that to the joint life option. Now, the reason why he originally chose the single life options because it's a higher dollar amount. Why do they give you a higher dollar amount is because there's less risk when they're only covering one life for a lifetime income stream versus two lives for the lifetime income stream. So in their example, in their situation, my grandfather ended up dying when he was 69 years old. My grandmother ended up living into her 80s and then she passed away. And they were only about a year apart from each other, in age. So with her stopping him, it was by far the best move she's ever made because when he passed away, that retirement paycheck did not stop. She was still able to leverage Social Security income. She was able to leverage the pension income, and her expenses were X amount of dollars. And the combination of those two were able to give her a successful retirement life where she did not have to stress. She could live every day with confidence, knowing that the income stream, that paycheck was coming to her every single month like clockwork. And that's ultimately why it's beneficial to leverage the joint lifetime income option. Now, the downside with pension plans is that that death benefit doesn't exist. So let's say if somebody takes that single life option and like in my grandfather's example, he would have taken the single life option and he would have passed away at age 69 when my grandmother was 68 at that point. She would have no money left. So he would have worked his entire life as an elevator mechanic. He would have given those X amount of years of service. He would have had that percentage of a lifetime income paycheck and thinking that, okay, I'm never going to die. He passes away. My grandmother would have been completely screwed. So in the situation, there would be no death benefit in that single life only situation. Now, because they chose the joint life option, what about if he would have passed away and then all of a sudden she would have only lived for a couple more months and then she would have passed away? Well, that income stream stopped. So when my grandmother ended up passing away, nothing got left over to the kids, to the grandkids, anything like that because of that lifetime income stream. It was excellent for her situation because she was always receiving that retirement paycheck, but it stopped. So the reason why I bring that up as a problem is many times individuals are working every day. They're working their ass off for this company to say, okay, I'm going to reap the benefits of this lifetime income pension option. But what happens if they stop working and then all of a sudden they come down with an ailment a couple of years later and then they pass away? And their true passion was to say, yeah, I want to make sure that my lifetime income stream is covered, that my expenses are covered, but I also care about leaving some sort of inheritance, some sort of legacy to my loved ones, whether that be my spouse, whether that be my kids, my grandkids, to a charity, whatever that case is. And the problem with the pension plan is it's just meant for the income stream, but you don't have that death benefit that's associated with it. When you are offered a lump sum option, an individual could still create a lifetime income stream, but then they could have that flexibility to say, okay, I'm receiving lifetime income. I'm living, it's covered for me and my spouse for joint lifetime income. But then when we pass away, whatever's remaining in our account balance could still be left over to beneficiaries. So that's how you're able to, really have your cake and eat it too. Make sure that you're still leveraging that concept of lifetime income, but you're not completely foregoing all those benefits. That you could leave that legacy and essentially the flexibility that comes with the lump sum option. Now, there are some cases that lump sum options are just complete shit, meaning that, if the employer is giving you this nice lifetime income stream and it's a large guaranteed cash flow, income stream, but then the buyout option might be only a couple $100,000. Does it make mathematical sense to take the buyout, even though that shiny object is saying, hey, we have a couple $100,000 that we could give you? If, let's say, you're receiving lifetime income of $50,000 per year versus taking a $200,000 lump sum, that's probably going to be a very bad situation because in just a couple of years, 4 years, you would have made back what you would have received in that lump sum option. And this is just kind of giving just a very generic example. There's a lot of math and science that goes behind the scenes off of what the lump sum option is and whether or not it makes sense, what the interest rate environment is, what the mortality rate is for an individual, for really the longevity that they've had in their family, smoker, non-smoker. So all these different, situations basically make or break a pension option, taking the lump sum versus just the income stream. But it's just something to be mindful of because you always want to look underneath the hood and say, what are going to be my best options to make sure that I'm covering my expenses, I'm able to live without that stress, without that worry, but still make sure that I could have this lump sum to pull from or to leave it aside as an inheritance in case that situation, was to occur. If I was to pass away prematurely, this is ultimately what I wanted to produce as my legacy, to my loved ones, to my beneficiaries. Need to stay with employer until years met. So this is a situation that is a negative. Is with a pension plan, you have to give X amount of years of service. And a quick example is, let's say if you were, a cop or a firefighter, and you were dealing with you had 10, 15 years of service, and in order to get your full pension, you needed to put in 25, 30 years of service. Now, what happens if there's just a complete mayhem in your line of work? And like with the, you had a lot of the riots and all the bullshit that was happening all throughout the country with, maybe it was very unsafe for cops. And they said, listen, I don't want to, you guys don't pay me enough money. I just want to walk away. Well, when they're walking away, they're not only walking away from their salary, but they're also walking away from their benefits, from their pension. And that's what made a lot of individuals basically stay with their employer or take out the reduced pension benefits early, just so that they no longer had to work with that employer. Another situation, maybe you're working for a private institution or a governmental employer, and they're giving you a pension plan, and you just, the workplace is just not good. And you just have the boss is a pain in the ass, the coworkers are a pain in the ass, and you just want to freaking be done with it. Well, with pension plans, you need to stay for X amount of years of service. You might be able to transfer departments and kind of glide out until you get to those years, or it might just mean you having to take a reduction of your benefit or not have any sort of pension benefit because you did not stay for those X amount of years of service of what was the deal, regarding when you could actually have your defined benefit, from the pension. So that's the problem with these pension plans, is that, you do have to stay for those years met. And it's the incentive. You're being loyal to the employer, so the employer is giving you some sort of incentive to stay with them, and they're giving you this retirement paycheck. And that's why, pensions are a good thing. But, in those situations, there could obviously be problems with the pension. And then also, not all pensions are offered the lump sum option. So you have, like I mentioned before, majority of pensions do give you some sort of lump sum option. You'll see them kind of come in and out of, let's say somebody's in their 60s and the employer wants to try to incentivize somebody to take retirement early. They may say, okay, hey, listen, you could take, we'll give you a buyout, we'll give you some sort of lump sum, some sort of incentive to take your dollars, take the lump sum, and start retirement now, so that employer is no longer on the hook to pay that retirement paycheck for however long the individual lives. So it's all about really a risk standpoint. There's a higher risk when an individual is living long and that employer has that risk on their books. So if they could take that risk off of their books and give some sort of buyout, that makes mathematical sense. But be mindful, not all pension plans are offered or give you that lump sum option to take the money and walk away and to really figure out what would be the best route. But if you are offered a lump sum, that's obviously a good thing. That's something that you should be mindful of and see, okay, how can I, stack up my chips the correct way to make sure that it's going to be beneficial, mathematically beneficial for what I want to accomplish, what is my ideal retirement that I envision, and try to make that a reality. So remember the purpose of this video. What are you trying to do? You're trying to live the retirement that you've envisioned as quickly as possible without financial stress and deathbed regrets. So you understand the pros and cons of the pension plan, how to leverage that, or if you're given a lump sum option, how to make sure that you're basically placing the pieces, or at least looking into what would be the best mathematical route for your situation. And then, at the end of the day, does that help you in some way, get you to your dream retirement that much quicker? The other aspect would be Social Security income, and Social Security income is another guaranteed cash flow. So what happens is you've been placing dollars into the Social Security system for your entire life, for all your working years, all your working quarters. And what happens is when you're at least age 62, you're eligible to start taking Social Security income. It's a lifetime monthly income that's going to last you for the rest of your life. And if you're married and your spouse were to pass away, the remaining spouse would receive the higher of those two. So this is a retirement paycheck. It's backed by the government, so it's extremely safe. And some of the benefits of this is that the surviving spouse would receive the higher amount. So, like, let's say if one spouse was receiving $3,000 a month of their Social Security income, the other spouse was receiving $1,500 a month. If the one spouse passes away, whichever spouse passes away first, the remaining spouse would still be able to receive that $3,000 amount. So it would step up regardless of whoever passed away. So that definitely is helpful, but the downside to that is you're no longer receiving that secondary income source from the spouse that was living. So like the pension plan, it's income that you could never outlive, It's income that, if you decide to trigger it earlier, is going to produce you less income than if you try to trigger it later. So, as an example, with Social Security income, if you trigger at 62, you're going to have less of a benefit than if you waited till 66. At age 66, you're going to have less of a monthly benefit than if you waited till age 70. Why is that? It's not because the government's so nice. It's because you're 1 year closer, you're 1 month closer, you're one day closer to that date of death. So you have to think about it from, okay, what's my mortality rate? What are, typically individuals in my family, how long do they typically live to? Have I had ailments in the past? What is really, the age that I ideally see that I'm going to be living to or passing away at, and then make sure that sort of situation can determine when you're going to trigger lifetime income. Or maybe you absolutely love working and you say, hey, listen, I'm 62 right now, but I love my job and I really want to stay here and not stop working or not trigger Social Security income until I'm full retirement age at age 67 or 66 and 2/3, or maybe age 70. Really, whatever your stamina is and your strength is at that point, to either stay with your head down and constantly be working, knowing that every year that you wait, every month that you wait, is going to only increase your benefit, increase your monthly income amount. So there's some really neat things you can do with spousal benefits, with file restricted, and there's some different ways on how you could execute your Social Security income streams. But there are some negatives with Social Security income, and where could you avoid those negatives, and how could you make sure that you're avoiding those most common mistakes and you're able to maximize out your Social Security, so that when you're looking at how can I optimize my Social Security benefit, how can I optimize my pension benefit to give you that ideal retirement situation? What do I mean by that? So now the big problems with Social Security is that your date of death is not guaranteed. We do not know when we're going to pass away. And that makes things somewhat difficult when you're trying to, really stick it to the government and try to get the sweet spot for when to trigger Social Security income. If you do not have longevity in your family and you feel like, okay, my brothers, my sisters, everybody's passed away all in their early 70s, well, then you might want to trigger Social Security income earlier. If, let's say, you have longevity in your family and, all your family members have lived into their 90s, their hundreds, well, then you might want to wait a little bit longer, because you have that longer time frame. The longer that you wait means a higher monthly benefit to you, and it might make mathematical sense to use it that way. So there's never going to be a perfect formula for it, because obviously we do not know the date of death, but there are different ways to kind of ladder your retirement assets in the best way. And maybe you're exhausting dollars from your 401ks, from your IRA accounts, and from your savings to, increase the amount of your monthly retirement paycheck from Social Security by, laddering those other assets. But really look at Social Security as an important retirement asset. A lot of people just say, oh, it's chump change I put into the system. It's the largest, it's the biggest Ponzi scheme. Yes, that those things could be true, but it's still an asset. If you're receiving 50, 60 grand between a husband and wife every single year, you multiply that by 10 years, that's 600,000. You multiply that by 20 years, that's 1.2 million, not even incorporating for the cost of living adjustment that's on there. So, it could be very powerful, but the downside is not really having a plan and just kind of going into it blindly on when you're going to execute Social Security income, and really figuring out, okay, when will be an ideal time to do that. The secondary aspect, the kind of the secondary negative, is that the income stream stops for the surviving spouse. If you have two individuals that are both receiving, husband and wife, that are both receiving, Social Security income, and one spouse passes away, well, now that retirement income stream through the Social Security stops. So now that surviving spouse could only rely on the one income stream. And if they don't have a lot of other, retirement assets saved up, and they were really relying on that Social Security income, that could be devastation. That could be a large lifestyle change. So you want to be very careful with that and make sure that you have your pieces in place in case that situation was to occur, so it doesn't completely hurt their surviving spouse. And then lastly is really a penalty for earning income and collecting. Let's say if somebody hits that age 62 and they're like, okay, great, I'm going to start collecting my Social Security income, but I also still want to be working. Well, you could get penalized above a certain threshold if you're making income above, a specific threshold. And each year is going to be a little bit different. It could be a little bit higher in some years, a little bit less in other years. But it's really just an incentive to say, hey, do not trigger your Social Security income, because every dollar that you're making above that could actually hurt the benefit that you're getting, or maybe from a taxation standpoint, it could hurt you for how much of your Social Security income is going to be taxed. So you just want to be very calculated with the move and make sure that it's lining up with your ideal retirement situation. So what are some of the best solutions when leveraging Social Security and pension income? And I want you to think of it really from a larger perspective. Envision a dream retirement scenario. So this is something, when do I ideally want to retire? What age do I ideally want to retire? And then what are some of the activities that I want to be doing throughout retirement? Is that I want to take a trip once a month. I want to work out every day. I want to join a book club, a Bible study. I want to visit my grandkids. I want to take care of my grandkids. A couple days a week. I want to make sure that I'm present, that I'm available, that I have all this flexibility. I want to sleep. I want to take 3 naps throughout the day. Whatever that case is, what do you ideally see as peace and bliss? And this is exactly what I want. If I could remove financial stress, what are some of the different things that I want to do so that when I'm on my deathbed, I'm not going to be having those regrets, those worries of saying, I wish I would have done this or that or whatever that is. So it doesn't have to, like your dream retirement scenario, it doesn't have to be something outrageous, like starting some crazy business, like Colonel Sanders, when he retired, he started Kentucky Fried Chicken because he had all this extra time on his hands. And then that's when he became that multimillionaire. That wasn't, that's not everybody's ideal scenario, but what are some of the little things that you want to just live your life to the best of your ability without having that constant stress of saying, is the market going down? Am I going to outlive these retirement savings? Am I going to have a large decrease in my lifestyle and all these different things? Where does that really come into play? So once you have that vision in mind and you're writing down these different, kind of notes, you're making this Rolodex, how can you use your pension and Social Security to eliminate what those expenses are? So tally up, what are my expenses right now? Do I want to maintain the same expenses, or am I going to have a slight decrease in my expenses based on what my ideal retirement scenario is? Then do the math. What is that math? What do you need to get to on a monthly basis? And then if I'm offered a pension plan and Social Security income, or only just Social Security income, and I have these other retirement savings sitting over here, how can I make sure to close up those gaps properly to make sure that I at least have this baseline? I have some sort of lifetime income, some sort of lifetime cash flow that's at least it's at least getting my needs met so that I could walk into retirement, not have that financial stress that's sitting there. So it all comes down with, should I use a single life option, a joint life option? Should I use a period certain option? Should I use the lump sum option and then have that flexibility there so that I incorporate Social Security income with my retirement savings with this lump sum pension to make sure that I could really have and live out that retirement that I've envisioned and live it out with peace and really eliminating that financial stress. So that's really the larger picture off of the solutions. And this is where we help out individuals on a daily basis is we typically work with individuals nearing retirement. So they're a couple of years out from retirement, but they're super stressed about outliving their retirement savings. They're super stressed that a downward market loss could significantly impact their chance of retirement success. In these individuals, they don't want to significantly downsize and decrease what their spending is in retirement. They want to spend. They've known how to spend the way that they've been spending for the last 10, 20, 30 years. So it scares the hell out of them that, do I have to have this large decrease in my lifestyle and in those expenses? Or can I be pretty accurate, pretty close to what I've been spending it as I was making my the income from my occupation? So is that even mathematically possible? And then most importantly, how to stop working and start living the retirement that you've envisioned. So how to make sure that you're eliminating that financial stress, eliminating those death benefit regrets, and making it as efficient and effective as possible. If you have a pension plan, there's certain parameters that you want to make sure that you're certain boxes you're checking off, so you're optimizing these areas the best possible way. Well, how does that correlate to everything? If you're doing this the most effective, most efficient way, that means you could stop working that much quicker and start actually living. Every year that you live past the point that you actually need to is one more year that you're not able to live that retirement, live that dream retirement that you've envisioned. So how exactly can we remove that stress and remove those worries, for you? And that's, one of the things we have is the retirement diet plan process, which is a proprietary process that really helps put this into a larger perspective. But, do this off of a way that we truly believe that you deserve to live this retirement and live without the stress and really live with possibility so you could do whatever you want when you do hit that stage. If you found value in this video and you want to have some sort of certainty that you could truly live every day without that financial stress, without those deathbed regrets, feel free to schedule an appointment with us. You can either simply call our 1-800 number, which is 1-800-566-1002, or you could click on our calendar link, which is going to be embedded in the description of this video. Obviously, navigate throughout our website. Our website has our calendar embed as well. But at the end of the day, it's, what's most important to you? What are you trying to, envision as your ideal retirement? And then is it possible, is it mathematically possible to get there and make sure that you're removing that financial stress, you're removing all those worries to make sure that you can succeed during this process and really love the process so that you could live and, stop working and start living, without those concerns, without that stress. I want to thank you very much for watching this video. Please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you can have access to the most updated videos. Thanks so much, guys.